Did you know that sometimes the most earth-shattering events in history can start with something as tiny as a domino? Let me take you back to the year 1517, a moment when one man's seemingly small action changed the entire course of European history. This is the story of how a single sheet of paper flipped the world on its head. Picture this: a German monk named Martin Luther, frustrated with what he saw as corruption in the Catholic Church, took pen to paper. He wrote down 95 arguments, later known as the 95 Theses, against the practice of selling indulgences. Now, indulgences were essentially certificates that supposedly reduced punishment for sins, and the Church profited handsomely from them. Luther was angered that spiritual salvation seemed like something you could simply buy. He nailed his theses to the door of a church in Wittenberg. To many, this was just an act of local defiance, a monk airing his grievances aloud. But what happened next was extraordinary. Thanks to the recent invention of the printing press, copies of the 95 Theses were mass-produced and widely distributed. Within a matter of weeks, Luther's words spread across Europe like wildfire. A tiny protest had turned into a movement. This movement later became known as the Reformation, and it didn't just challenge the Catholic Church. It reshaped politics, culture, and power structures that had reigned for centuries. Countries and rulers began to question the authority of the Vatican. Kings saw an opportunity to wrest control away from the Church. Ordinary people started reading the Bible in their own languages instead of Latin, breaking a monopoly on religious interpretation that the Church had held for centuries. Education, literacy, and critical inquiry suddenly found new champions, all thanks to Luther's tiny domino. But here's the ironic twist. Martin Luther never intended to spark a full-blown revolution. He simply wanted to start a conversation within the Church, not topple its entire foundation. Yet actions often have consequences far beyond what anyone envisions. And this singular act of defiance, it laid the groundwork for modern individualism, democracy, and even the scientific revolution. Isn't it fascinating how the right spark, at the right moment, can ignite a blaze that changes the world? So, what's the lesson here? Never underestimate the ripples that one small action can create. History is built not just by massive armies or towering empires, but by individuals daring to question the status quo. You might be the next domino. Who knows what revolution you'll start?